Writing about tonight's guest, Norman Mailer has speculated that there may be no one more American than he. Normally our guest's filmography goes here, but tonight's guest has acted in 55 movies, directed 24, and produced 17. So I'll limit myself to mentioning a few of his honors. He has won the Academy Award as director and producer of Unforgiven, and has been honored by the Motion Picture Academy with the Irving Thalberg Award for Lifetime Achievement. He has received Life Achievement Awards from the American Film Institute, the Screen Actors Guild, and the New York National Board of Review. He has received 5 Cannes Film Festival nominations and recently received Cannes' Golden Coach Award for Mystic River. He has won 5 People's Choice Awards, including one as favorite all-time motion picture star. He has won 4 Golden Globe Awards, including one as the world's favorite film star. He holds the distinction of remaining in the box office top 10 for an entire decade. He holds the additional distinction of appearing on a postage stamp in the Republic of Niger. His handprints and signature can be found in the historic courtyard of Mann's Chinese Theater in Hollywood. I could, of course, go on, but it would only delay the moment when I am privileged to say that the Actors Studio is proud to welcome Clint Eastwood.
Tell me a little bit more about that postage stamp in Nigeria.
You haven't seen it?
Well, usually you're dead when they do a postage stamp for me. So, fortunately, Nigeria has a good sense. Maybe they thought I was gone.
No. They just were impatient to honor you. And I don't blame them.
Well, let's not rush it.
The purpose of these evenings is to trace the path that shaped the guest in that chair in the hope of understanding the person and the artist. For you, where did the path begin?
Well, I was born in San Francisco and lived in the Bay Area in the early years of my life.
Your mother has said that you were famous the day you were born.
Yeah, but that's just in her eyes. She was slightly prejudiced and in pain.
And in pain. And is it possible that the reason she was in pain was because you weighed what? Do you remember?
I don't recall what it was exactly.
11.6. 11 pounds, 6 ounces.
It wasn't 205, which I am now.
Your mother was pregnant with you when the stock market crashed. So you were born into a very hard world. Where and how did your father earn his living?
He was a working class guy. When we were down here in Pacific Palisades, he worked at the Standard Station on the Pacific Coast Highway and Sunset Boulevard. We traveled all the way from Sacramento to Pacific Palisades to get a job as a gas station attendant. Oh, yeah. That's how few and far between the jobs were at that particular time in history.
Was he an important influence on you?
Well, yeah, he was the only guy I knew at that time. We were kind of a family that moved around a lot. We didn't know too many people. He was my first male influence. I have a sister and my mother and father and myself. We just kind of moved around and we just kind of stayed very close.
Didn't your father once say to you, you either progress or you decay?
Yeah, he did say that. He always felt that one must constantly be absorbing life and be educating oneself in life, and that if you didn't, you just stood pat or slid back.
Can you remember the first movie that you ever saw?
I remember my dad taking me to see Sergeant York when that first came out. This was, of course, before television, and you only had radio. And a movie was a tremendous treat for a family.
Did you listen to the radio?
Yeah.
What programs did you listen to?
All of the I Love a Mystery and The Green Hornet and The Shadow.
Your mother has said that your toys were the kind that talked and did things other children didn't do. Were you a solitary child?
I'd rather not talk about that.
Thank you to remember this is a course in a university. We keep it very
That's right.
clean.
It's just a psychiatric course. We didn't have a lot of toys, so you sort of made up the toys, you made up the games.
Would you describe yourself as a shy child? Were you a shy child?
Yeah, I think I was, yeah. We moved so much, and I think going to different schools, I was a little bit tall for my age, and so changing schools all the time, I was always having to defend myself one way or another, and so I think I was sort of an introverted guy. I think I was somewhat dyslexic too, but I've never proven that for sure, but I was changed from left-handed because we used inkwells, and I was a left-handed writer, and I wrote left-handed, and they said, no, you can't do that, so you got to write right-handed, and so all of a sudden the other side of my brain was operating, and that side wasn't too developed, so it took me a little time to get going.
Do you remember how old you were when you saw the movie Yankee Doodle Dandy?
No, I can't remember how.
Did it influence you?
I did see it.
Wasn't that something that impressed you? I've read
Yeah,
that.
I think it was very impressive. I liked James Cagney anyway.
Did you?
Yeah, I was a big fan of his. I thought there's something about his energy, something about his persona that was great. I thought he was fearless. I've never tried to pattern myself after anybody. Of course, he and I are totally different types, but when he's eating the chicken leg and firing bullets through the trunk of the car in white heat, I said, now there's a guy who's afraid of nothing. I mean, he's not worried about the people out in the audience thinking, gee, I'm a good guy.
What about Cooper?
Well, I thought he was terrific because I was Sergeant York, and he was a wonderful, great minimalist actor, probably one of the best.
During those years growing up, was there music in your house?
Yeah, there was. My mother liked music, and both my parents did, and we had records, and as I got a little older, I started purchasing records all the time. I first started liking Dixieland jazz, then I liked rhythm and blues, and then blues, and then sort of shout blues and jazz, and then I got into the bebop craze in the mid-40s, and kind of fell in love with that.
When did you first try your own hand at music?
I was about 8 or 9 or something like that.
That was on Grandma Andy's piano that followed you around?
Grandma Andy's piano. It's still around.
Is it?
It's still around, yeah. The piano is. Not Grandma Andy.
No,
She was actually not my grandma. She was my dad's grandmother.
Yeah.
So she goes back a ways.
But that's where you started playing, on that piano. Didn't it travel with you as you went up?
Yeah, that was the only piece of furniture we had that actually moved around that was large. I started fiddling with the piano, and then one time I was at a party when I was a young kid, and I started playing the piano, and all of a sudden all these gals kept coming around the piano. And I thought, gee, this is great. I said, why am I at home practicing every day? So I did. I started practicing, and pretty soon I started playing in different, at school assemblies, and then I started playing at, I go into a nightclub down in Oakland, and I'd play, and they'd give me, it wasn't really a nightclub, it was just a saloon, but they had pizza there, and so I could eat pizza and maybe even drink a beer for just playing.
How old were you then?
I was about 15 then.
And how did
Things were a little different then. Kids didn't have much to do.